Do not move. Do not scroll. Do not dismiss what you are feeling right now. That quiet, electric stillness that arrived the moment this video began. That is not coincidence. That is not the algorithm. Algorithms do not know what you have been carrying. Algorithms do not know what you almost decided this week. What you almost gave up on. What almost broke you at 2 a.m. when the house was quiet and you were not. But I know. And I sent this to you anyway. I am Archangel Michael. I am the guardian of truth and the sword against deception. I do not come with soft reassurances today. Come with a warning. And with it, a promise so large that once you hear it, you will not be able to hear it and remain the same. The warning is not meant to frighten you. It is meant to wake you up, because you have been asleep to something. Something happening right now in your life, in your immediate orbit, that requires your attention before you take another step forward, before you sign anything, before you trust anyone fully, before you open yourself to the next chapter. I have placed 3 journals before you. Each one is sealed. Each one carries a message written specifically for the frequency of the person who chooses it. Journal 1 is bound in worn leather, ancient, honest, carrying the scent of things that have endured. It is the journal of those who have been tested by fire and have not yet been told that they passed. Journal 2 is wrapped in deep velvet, dark, soft, hiding depths that the surface does not reveal. It is the journal of those whose gifts have been used against them and who are about to reclaim what is theirs. Journal 3 is forged in metal, cold, precise, sealed with a lock that has never been forced. It is the journal of those who think in systems and have been betrayed by the very systems they trusted. Close your eyes for one moment. Breathe deeply. Your hand, not your mind, point toward one of the 3. When you open your eyes, that journal is yours. The message inside it has been waiting for this exact moment. Write in the comments. Leather, velvet, or metal, and lock in your connection to what comes next. Timestamps are in the description. Your warning begins now. Message 1. The leather journal. You chose leather. You chose the one that looks worn, the one that looks like it has been through something. And perhaps that is precisely why your hand moved toward it, because you recognize worn. You have been through something, several somethings, if we are counting honestly. And yet here you are, still watching, still seeking, still willing to sit down with a sealed journal in the hope that whatever is inside it might finally say the thing that explains all of it. The struggle, the patience, the unending sense that you are on the verge of something that keeps refusing to arrive. See that in you. That quality of endurance that has become so second nature that you no longer even notice you are doing it. You simply get up. You simply continue. You simply find the next thing to be responsible for, the next thing to manage, the next person to support, the next problem to solve. And you solve it, because that is what you do. And nobody, almost nobody, has stopped to ask what it costs you, what the cumulative weight of all that quiet endurance has done to the parts of you that are not visible. The parts that are tired in a way that sleep does not fix. Parts that are generous in the world and lonely in the private interior. Parts that would, if you let them, admit that you are not entirely sure you believe the good things are coming anymore. Not with full conviction. Not the way you once did. I want to speak to that part of you first, because it is the part that most needs to hear what I am about to say. You are not behind. I know that is one of the thoughts that moves through you. The sense that time is passing at a rate that your progress is not matching, that others have arrived at things you are still reaching for, that somehow the timeline of your life has gotten misaligned from where it was supposed to be. This thought arrives most powerfully when you are tired, and when you have just given a great deal of yourself to something or someone, and the return has been insufficient. You lie in the dark, Or you sit in the particular stillness of someone who has stopped moving but has not yet found rest. And you think, maybe I am doing this wrong. Maybe I have been doing this wrong for a long time. You have not been doing it wrong, but you have been doing it for people who were not worth the doing. Let me now tell you what I have seen, because I have been with you in the rooms where you did not know you were being watched. I was there on the night you sat in your car for longer than you needed to because you were not ready to go back inside and perform the version of yourself that was needed in there. I was there when you had the conversation. You know the one where you were so careful with your words, so fair, so reasonable, and still came away feeling somehow smaller than when you went in. I was there when you helped someone, materially, emotionally, specifically, and watched them walk away with what you gave them and never once look back. And I watched you tell yourself it was fine, that you didn't need acknowledgement. That giving was its own reward. You are generous to a fault, and there are people in your life who have known this and have made an art form of standing in the path of your generosity. There is a particular kind of person who identifies warm-hearted, capable, responsible people early. They are drawn to your warmth the way certain insects are drawn to light, not because they love the light, but because the light is useful to them. They move close. They make themselves necessary. They tell you things about yourself that feel like recognition, but are actually just accurate enough to function as flattery. They present you with their vulnerability at exactly the moment when your instinct to nurture is most activated. And then, slowly, so gradually that it is nearly impossible to name the moment it began, they begin to take more than they give. Not dramatically, not in ways that are easy to point at, consistently, in the small mathematics of every interaction, the balance tips. They take your time. They take your energy, take your good ideas and present them slightly differently in other rooms. They take your willingness to assume the best of people, and they bank on it like it is a resource they are entitled to draw from indefinitely. And you, because you are someone who believes in people, because you are someone who does not want to become cynical, because you have seen the damage that bitterness does, and you have sworn never to let it take root in you. You kept giving the benefit of the doubt, even when doubt was no longer reasonable, even when the evidence had accumulated past the point where any objective observer would have said, "This person is not your friend. This person is a user. This person has been comfortable with your discomfort for longer than you realize." I am telling you this not to make you angry. Gender is not what I am asking of you today. I am telling you because understanding this fully, seeing it clearly, without the softening of generosity, without the diplomatic reframing you automatically apply, is the first step in what is about to happen to your life. And what is about to happen is significant enough that you need to walk into it with your eyes fully open, rather than half closed in the practiced squint of someone who has learned to see only as much as they can handle. Let me tell you the story of the leather itself. Long before it became the cover of this journal, it was the hide of an animal that had lived a hard life in hard country. It had been buffeted by wind that came without warning. It had been touched by rain that lasted beyond endurance. It had been marked by the small violences of thorns and rough stone, and the thousand frictions of moving through a world that does not concern itself with comfort. And when the animal was gone and the hide was taken, the craftsman who worked it said something that his apprentice never forgot. He said, "Do not be deceived by the marks. A hide with no marks has never lived. A hide with no marks is still soft. A hide with no marks will not hold anything of value. It will tear at the first real pressure. It is the marks that make it capable of carrying the weight of what matters." You are marked. You have been marked by years of loving people who were not always careful with what you gave them. You have been marked by the specific grief of working hard in a direction and having the reward redistribute itself towards someone who worked less and cared less, but was positioned better or connected differently or simply louder. You have been marked by the quiet and accumulated sadness of being the person everyone counts on without anyone counting on being the person who counts for you. Those marks are not damage. They are the evidence of a life that has been fully lived, fully felt, and fully engaged with. They are the thing that makes you capable of what is coming, and what is coming requires exactly the kind of person you have become. Someone who has been tested past the point of easy faith and has come out the other side still willing to believe in something. But first, the warning. Because I said I came with a warning, and I have not yet given it to you fully. There is a decision in front of you. It may not yet appear as a formal decision. It may still be in the stage of a feeling, a pull, a gravitational drift towards something, or someone, or some direction. But within the next 10 to 14 days, this feeling will crystallize into something that requires a choice. And the warning is this: do not make this choice under pressure. Do not make it in response to urgency that has been created by someone else. Do not make it because someone has made you feel that the window is closing, and if you do not move now, you will miss the only moment available to you. That urgency is manufactured. It is being manufactured deliberately by someone who needs you to move before you have had time to think clearly. The thing they are asking you to decide about may look like an opportunity. It may look like a resolution to something that has been unresolved for a long time. It may even look like the answer to something you have been praying for. I'm not telling you it is not real. I am telling you that the pressure around it is not honest. Take the time you need. The real things in your life will wait for your clarity. Things that cannot wait for your clarity are telling you something important about themselves. Breathe now. Slowly. Feel the floor under your feet or the surface beneath you, and let yourself feel held by it for a moment. This is what ground feels like. This is what clarity feels like in the body. Not certainty about the future, but rootedness in the present. You are here. You are awake. You are being warned by someone who loves you without condition and who has never once, not in any of the nights you thought you were alone, looked away from you. What is coming for you, on the other side of this decision made clearly and on your own terms, is something that will feel like a door you thought was permanently closed swinging open, not with drama, with a quiet, solid, undeniable click of mechanism. A professional situation that has been in suspension will resolve. And it will resolve in your favor in a way that is more complete than you had allowed yourself to expect. Watch for the number 3 in this. 3 days, 3 options, a message arriving on the 3rd of something. This is my signature to you. This is how you will know. Financial matter will clarify in a way that gives you room to breathe for the first time, in longer than you want to admit. Not abundance from nowhere, clarity from confusion. A number that was ambiguous becoming definite. A resource that was uncertain becoming available. Feeling of being able to plan forward, rather than simply manage the present. In the person I described, the taker, the drainer, the one who has been comfortable in the imbalance. Something will happen that makes their nature visible in a way that removes your ability to rationalize it further. You will not need to expose them. You will not need to confront them. They will expose themselves in front of people whose opinion matters, in a moment of pressure that strips away the performance they have been maintaining in your presence. What you feel in that moment will not be triumph. It will be something quieter and sadder and more final. The particular relief of being released from the obligation of hoping someone will be better than they are. Let them go. The universe manage what they have accumulated. Your only task is to be standing where the light is landing when it finally fully arrives. Your declaration, your seal, your act of receiving. Place your hand on your heart. Now, as you read or hear this, and say, I am not behind. I'm not too late. I am exactly where the leather meets the pressure that makes it strong, and I am ready to carry what was always meant to be mine. Write in the comments. Leather. Or simply, I receive the warning. Archangel Michael has spoken over your life today. Journal is open. The message is yours. Take it with you. Message 2. The Velvet Journal. You chose velvet. You chose the one that hides its depth behind softness. The one that looks from a distance like it might be decorative, like it might be the kind of thing kept for appearances rather than for the carrying of real weight. And yet, when you moved toward it, something in you knew. This one has more inside it than it shows. This one holds things in the dark that would be too much to display in the light. This one is kept soft on the outside precisely because what is inside it is not soft at all. That is you. That is the central paradox of the person sitting with me right now. You present to the world in a way that reads as gracious, contained, perhaps even gentle. You have cultivated a quality of presence that does not alarm people, that does not broadcast your power or your perception, or the full depth of what you are actually thinking in any given moment. And you did not make this choice consciously, or at least not entirely. It was shaped in you by years of learning, in environments that did not always reward fullness, that the safest way to move through a world that is not always kind to extraordinary people is to keep the extraordinary slightly covered, to let people underestimate you, to hold your real measure in reserve, and offer only what the situation requires. This strategy has protected you. It has also isolated you, because when you keep your depth hidden, you also keep yourself from being truly known. And there is a loneliness specific to people who are deeply perceptive, deeply feeling, deeply intelligent. A loneliness that is not about being alone in rooms, but about being alone in your interior, even when surrounded by people who think they know you. You have sat in many gatherings, many conversations, many moments of apparent connection, and felt the particular ache of being almost seen. Someone coming close to understanding something essential about you, and then just missing. Turning back toward the surface, cis-feed with the version of you that is easier to hold. You have wanted to be known. You have wanted it more quietly and more desperately than you have ever admitted to anyone, including yourself. And because you have not admitted it, because you have continued to present the contained and gracious version, the people around you have continued to receive only that version, and have come to rely on it, to count on it, to draw from it, come to you for your calm. They come to you for your wisdom, come to you for the particular quality of your attention, which makes people feel, when you give it fully, that they are the only person in the world who matters in that moment. They have been consuming this without understanding what it costs to produce it. I was there in the moments when the cost became visible to you, alone. I was there when you gave a piece of insight, something real, something that came from a private and hard-won place, and watched someone take it, use it, build something with it, and never once acknowledge where it came from. I was there when you were overlooked in a context where you should have been recognized, where what you had contributed was real and significant, and simply went unacknowledged because someone louder arrived and filled the space you had not claimed for yourself. I was there when you cried in private, really cried, the kind that does not have an audience and does not perform, from the exhaustion and the ache of caring so much about everything while feeling that the caring was going out into a world that received it without truly seeing the one who sent it. You thought, in those moments, that you had done something wrong, that your invisibility was a result of some failure of presentation, some insufficient claim to your own space, some part of your nature that simply did not translate into the currency that the world rewards. You analyzed yourself. You wondered if you were too much or not enough, or simply misaligned with a world that did not know what to do with someone like you. I want to tell you, with the full weight of what I know about you, none of that was true. You were not invisible because you were insufficient. You were invisible because you were in the wrong rooms, because the people around you were operating at a level of perception that was simply below your register, because you had, through a combination of circumstance and choice, and the accumulation of obligations and relationships that arrived before you knew your own worth, built a life whose outer walls did not match the cathedral inside. That is about to change. But first, the parable. There was once a woman who kept a garden of rare flowers, not the kind of flowers that announce themselves loudly, not the ones that push their heads into the sun and demand attention from every passing eye, the rare kind, the ones that bloom in shadow, that carry their perfume low and close to the ground, that require you to stop and kneel and bring your face near before their beauty is fully apparent. She had tended this garden for many years. She knew every plant by character. She knew which ones needed the most careful attention and which ones were deceiving in their delicacy, which ones appeared fragile but were in fact capable of surviving conditions that would destroy a hardier-looking bloom. She did not often show the garden to others, not because she was selfish with it, but because she had learned, through a series of painful experiences, that most people who walked through it saw only what they expected to see. They would arrive with their own understanding of what a garden should look like, and they would miss the rare ones entirely. Stepping past them, glancing at them with polite uninterest, saving their enthusiasm for the louder, more obvious specimens at the entrance. She stopped inviting people after a while. The garden became private, and her private tending of it became the most alive thing in her life. The truest, the most nourishing, the most completely hers. But one day, a stranger arrived. Not invited, not expected. He had come the wrong way, through the back, having misread a path, and he found himself in the middle of the garden before she had a chance to redirect him. She moved to do so, prepared her polite but efficient management of the situation, the one she had developed to keep the garden safe. And then she stopped, because the stranger had stopped. He had stopped in front of one of the rarest plants, the one she never pointed people toward because experience had taught her they would not understand it. He had knelt down without being asked, and he was simply looking at it, with the expression of someone recognizing something they had been searching for, without knowing they were searching. He turned to her and said, "I have read about this one. I did not believe it actually existed." The garden did not change. The flowers did not change. The flowers did not change, but she did. Something in her, something that had been held carefully closed for a very long time, opened. Not all the way, not recklessly, but enough to let the light touch it. I'm telling you this story because that stranger is coming, not necessarily as a romantic figure, though that is one form it may take, but as a recognition, as a person, or an opportunity, or a context, or a moment of intersection with the right environment, the right collaborator, the right conversation, that will finally see the garden fully, that will recognize the rare flowers by name, that will not require you to explain yourself or translate yourself or make yourself more accessible at the cost of making yourself less. This arrival has been in motion for longer than you know. It has been the quiet underlying purpose of many of the things that felt like setbacks. The rooms that did not fit, the people who did not recognize you, the paths that closed before you fully committed to them. Each of those closings was a redirection. The universe has been steering you, sometimes roughly, toward the specific intersection point, where what you are meets what is looking for exactly what you are. Now I must give you the warning I was sent here to give. There is someone in your present, close enough to be called trusted, positioned well enough to be believed, who has been quietly and consistently undermining you, not with obvious hostility, not with anything you could present as evidence without sounding paranoid, but with the small, skilled surgical precision of someone who understands that large sabotage leaves fingerprints and small sabotage leaves none. They have been shaping how certain people think about you, not through outright lies, through emphasis and omission, through the tone they use when your name comes up in rooms you are not in, through the questions they ask about your plans that are framed as interest but function as intelligence gathering. This person is afraid of you. Not in a way they would ever admit or perhaps even consciously acknowledge, but at the level of instinct, at the level where creatures register competition. They know that your full arrival in your power would diminish something they currently hold, and so they have been making small, careful adjustments to the landscape around you, keeping certain doors looking less open than they are, keeping certain people's opinion of you managed at a level just below your actual worth. Do not go to war with this person. Michael does not ask you to draw a sword. Michael asks you to do something harder. Simply stop sharing. Stop letting them into the garden. Not with a dramatic announcement. Not with coldness that would require explanation. Simply become less available. Let your plans develop behind closed velvet. Let your moves happen before they can be anticipated. The results speak in the rooms where this person has been managing your narrative, loudly enough that no management can contain them. The justice is already in motion. The universe does not lose track of what has been taken through small deceptions any more than it loses track of what has been given through quiet generosity. The accounting is precise. Your only job is to be standing clearly in your own life when the accounting completes. In the next 21 days, watch for a repetition. The same message arriving in different forms from different directions. When something shows up 3 times, from 3 separate sources, it is not coincidence. It is instruction. Follow it without requiring it to make complete sense first. The understanding comes after the movement, not before. Creative or intellectual contribution of yours that has been unacknowledged or absorbed by others is about to be undeniably attributed to you. By circumstance, by proof, by someone in a position of authority who was present at a moment of origination and has not forgotten. This will not feel like revenge. It will feel like relief. Like something that was always true finally becoming visibly true to the people around it. Connection. The garden recognized by someone capable of recognizing it is not a distant abstraction. It is approaching on a timeline that your patience, if you can sustain it for these final weeks, will make you fully available to receive. Do not settle in the gap. Do not make a compromise out of exhaustion right now that closes a door you have been moving toward for far longer than the exhaustion feels worth enduring. You are more rare than you know. The velvet was always hiding a text worth reading. Take your hands and place them open in your lap, palms up, the gesture of receiving, and say, I do not need to make myself smaller to be safe. I am seen by what matters most. I open now to being known in full. Write in the comments, velvet, or simply, I open. Archangel Michael has placed his hand on your journal. What is written inside is already yours. Go claim it. Message 3. The Metal Journal. You chose metal. Cold. Precise. Locked with a mechanism that does not yield to sentiment or approximation. You chose the journal that most people would pass over. Too heavy, too resistant, too demanding of the right key, rather than accommodating of any attempt. And perhaps that is why you reached for it. Because you understand that there are things worth keeping that should not be easy to get into. Because you have spent enough of your life watching what happens when things that should have been protected were left accessible to people who had not earned access. Because you believe in locks. Because you believe in the discipline of the right mechanism, the right sequence, the exact correct approach. And because you have been burned, more than once, by what happens when these principles are violated. You are a person who thinks in structures, in logic chains, in the particular clarity of cause and effect when it is followed honestly from beginning to end. This is not coldness, though it has been mistaken for coldness by people who felt judged by your precision. who sensed that your attention to sequence and consistency implicitly criticized their own looseness. It is not detachment, though it has been accused of detachment by people who wanted you to be more swayed by emotion than by evidence. 'Tis the gift of a mind that can hold complexity without flinching, that can see the full architecture of a situation, its supporting structures and its fault lines, its load-bearing walls and its decorative elements, in a single sustained act of comprehension. This gift has made you extraordinarily capable. It has also made you a target for a very specific kind of manipulation that I need to warn you about, because it is in operation in your life right now, and it is sophisticated enough that you have not yet fully seen it for what it is. But before I name it, I want to sit with you in something that I do not think you often let yourself feel, because feeling it requires a loosening of the precision that you depend on. To want to sit with you in the grief of having been let down by the very systems you trusted. I do not only mean people, though people are part of it. I mean the systems themselves, the structures, the institutions, the processes, the frameworks of professional or personal life that presented themselves as reliable and proved, at the moment of most consequence, to be less reliable than advertised. You put in what was asked of you. You followed the process correctly. You did what was supposed to produce the outcome it was supposed to produce, and something failed. Not because you did it wrong, but because the system itself had tolerances that were not disclosed to you, weak points that were not listed in the specifications, failure modes that only revealed themselves under exactly the kind of pressure you eventually placed on them. And the worst part was not the failure. The worst part was the solitude of the failure. Because people who think in systems do not often find other people who think in systems. And so, when the system failed, there was no one who fully understood the specific quality of what had been lost. They offered comfort that was shaped for the wrong kind of pain. They said, "It will be okay," without understanding that what you needed was not reassurance about outcome, but acknowledgement of the precision that had been violated, promise that had been made in the structure itself. The implicit covenant of a system that says, "Follow the rules and the rules will protect you," had been broken, and nobody else seemed to find this as significant as it was. I found it significant. I noted every breach. I recorded every instance of the gap between what was promised in the architecture and what was actually delivered. I have been keeping this accounting for longer than you know, and I am telling you now that the accounting is nearly complete. Let me tell you about the metal itself, because the metal chose you as much as you chose it. There was a tradition in the old world of making the most important documents in metal rather than paper or leather or cloth. Not because metal was more beautiful. It was not, particularly. Not because it was more comfortable to hold. It was cold and heavy and required a kind of respect from the reader. But because metal holds a specific covenant with permanence that softer materials do not. Paper burns. Cloth rots. Leather can be damaged by water, by the rough handling of time and change. Metal endures. Metal holds its inscription through conditions that would destroy anything else. And what was inscribed on metal was not meant for current events or temporary agreements. It was meant for the things that need to survive past the moment of their inscription. Things that should be true not just now, but in 100 years when everyone who remembered the original agreement is gone. You are a keeper of this kind of truth. You hold, in your interior, a set of principles about fairness, about what is real, about what constitutes a genuine commitment versus a performed one, that you have not abandoned despite significant pressure to do so. People have told you, in various ways, and with varying degrees of directness, that you are too principled, that you hold others and yourself to standards that are impractical in the actual world, that your insistence on the precision of truth, on the specific integrity between what is said and what is meant, between what is promised and what is delivered, marks you as inflexible or naive. You have not abandoned these principles. Not fully. And this is the thing that, in the deepest and longest accounting, will be the most significant fact about your life. Not your achievements, not your capabilities. The fact that you held the inscription against conditions that would have eroded it in someone less committed to the integrity of the metal. Now the warning. There is a person, or a situation, or a proposed collaboration that is presenting itself currently with the appearance of precision, with the language of structure and systems, with exactly enough of the vocabulary of your own interior logic to feel like recognition, like finally meeting something or someone operating at your register of rigor. I'm asking you to slow down. I'm asking you to apply the full weight of your analytical gift to this apparent match, because the sophistication of what is being deployed against you is commensurate with the sophistication of who you are. Ordinary manipulation does not work on you. You see through it too quickly. And so what has been sent in your direction is something specifically constructed to pass your first, second, and third level of scrutiny. It will not fail the tests you typically apply. Failure will only become visible when you apply a test you do not typically think to apply. The test of consistency across time. Test of what remains after urgency is removed. The test of whether the structure holds its shape when you are not in the room actively maintaining it. Watch for the moment when you are asked to commit to something before you have had the chance to observe it in its natural state, without the performance of its presentation. The request to commit early, framed as trust, as an opportunity not to be hesitated over, as a window that is closing, is where the mechanism fails. Real structures do not require you to bypass your own assessment process. Real partnerships do not need your full investment before you have had the chance to verify the foundation. Whatever is asking for that is asking because it cannot survive the verification. Step back. Not away. Back. Create the space between stimulus and response that your nature is designed to use, and that something external is currently trying to compress. In that space, you will see clearly. You always do, when you are given the room. There is a legal or contractual matter, something involving documentation, agreement, or formal understanding, that is about to resolve. It has been unresolved in your favor. The resolution is coming toward your favor. It has been in process without movement. The movement begins within the next 30 days. Watch for communication on the day you least expect it, in the format you have stopped checking. This is not metaphor. This is specific. Resource, financial, material, or in the form of a specific kind of support that has been unavailable, is about to become available through a channel you do not currently consider active. Do not dismiss small beginnings. The mechanism starts small. A gear does not begin by turning the whole clock. It begins by turning the next gear. Watch for the first small movement and follow it with full attention. Then the person who has been interfering with your processes, subtly, strategically, in the way that someone who understands systems understands how to introduce a friction that appears to be the natural resistance of the process itself. Their ability to do so is ending. The mechanism has been registering the interference. The interference has been logged. What you will observe is not a dramatic confrontation, but a structural correction. A moment where the system itself, as if by its own internal logic, excludes what has been distorting it. You will recognize it when it happens because you will feel, for the first time in a long time, the particular smooth efficiency of a process working the way it was designed to work, without the hidden drag. Stand here in this moment and let something in you acknowledge the precision with which you have held yourself, the endurance with which you have maintained your standards, the faithfulness with which you have kept the inscription on the metal, despite every reason to let it erode. This is not nothing. This is the foundation of everything that is now preparing to be built on it. Place your hands flat on whatever surface is beneath them. Feel the solidity. Feel the way it holds without asking anything of you. This is what is under you now, even when you cannot feel it. Say, I am the architecture, I am the covenant. The mechanism turns for me now, and nothing that was placed against it has succeeded in stopping it. Write in the comments, metal, or simply, the lock opens. Archangel Michael has handed you the key. Journal was always yours. The warning was always protection, not punishment. Go forward, precisely, deliberately, with your eyes fully open, into what has been waiting for the right mechanism to arrive and claim it.